In the next couple of slides, I would like to share with you some case studies where big, well-known companies have made global marketing strategy blunders. They just totally failed. And these are companies that have the financial resources. These are the companies that have the competencies, the know-how. Despite that, they still failed. So the first example that I'd like to introduce and share with you is the brand Snapple, is the product Snapple. Now, this brand launched its product and entered the Japanese market. And one of the reasons why Snapple was popular in the US market was because of the emphasis on the natural, element. That it was a natural drink. It had pulps that, signaled to customers that this is organic, this is natural. So it was very popular in the US. So they launched this product without changing any of its formula or the bottle shape. And initially it did very well in the Japanese market. However, after a while, sales started to plateau. It just did not increase. It started to slip. And in the Japanese market, for these type of products, convenience stores is essential. You have to be able to succeed by carrying such products in convenience stores such as 7-Eleven. And they introduced this brand into 7-Eleven type of convenience stores. And initially it did well, but after a while it started to show signs that it was fatiguing. And one of the reasons why Japanese consumers initially, welcomed this product, but soon after, showed disappointment was that this product tasted too sweet to Japanese consumers. Also, the fact that it had pulps at the bottom floating around, had sediments floating around, signaled that, this was not pure. It was not transparent. And also the fact that the product was cloudy, it was murky, signaled that it was not pure, transparent. So some of the factors that made this successful in the US domestic market were the very factors that contributed to, its failure in the Japanese market. And despite convenience store managers, alerting Snapple that they needed to change the formula, that they needed to change the product to fit the Japanese consumer's taste, no changes were made. And they had to, pull out from the Japanese market. So let's try to analyze this case study using the following framework. So again, we have a 2x2 matrix where we have low-high market orientation, and then we have low-high product orientation. Product orientation implies a company's focus on developing superior, excellent products. So again, we have 4 different conditions, A, B, C, and D. So out of these 4 different conditions or situations, which situation do you think would explain Snapple's failure in the Japanese market? Would it be A? Would it be B? Would it be C? Or would it be D? The best situation that can explain the failure of Snapple in the Japanese market would probably be a situation B, where Snapple had, the company was very focused on, the brand was very focused on developing, introducing, a superior product. However, they just did not have the market orientation level. They did not understand the customers, the local customers, what they liked, what they disliked, and also, despite receiving feedback from these 7-Eleven convenience store managers that certain elements of the product were disliked by Japanese consumers, they took no action. The feedback was ignored. So that would be a very low level of market orientation. despite having a high level of product orientation. So this case study goes to show you that having a strong, high level of product orientation in and of itself may not work. You need to have, along with it, a high level of market orientation that's accompanied by a high level of product orientation for a product to succeed, especially when you are venturing outside of your home market, because you need to better understand the local customer's preferences, in which case Snapple did not fulfill. The second case study is about Betty Crocker. Now, this is a cake mix that was developed and marketed by General Mills. And again, General Mills launched this product in the Japanese market because the Japanese market, the families in Japan were not able to make their cakes in their houses. They bought cakes that were made, they bought them from bakeries, and Western-style cakes were very popular. So General Mills thought that, okay, let's try to capitalize on this opportunity where there is a demand for cake, but Japanese consumers are paying a lot of money to buy these in bakeries, so let's give them an opportunity to bake these cakes at home. Now, there's one problem though, because in order to bake a Betty Crocker cake, you need an oven. And most American households have ovens in their kitchens, but a typical Japanese family in their kitchen, they do not have a traditional oven that could bake this cake. So General Mills understood that, so they said, okay, well, what does every Japanese household, what's an appliance that they have in their kitchen that practically every Japanese household has? And it's a rice cooker. Every Japanese household has a rice cooker because rice is a staple diet. Every Japanese, consumes rice on a daily basis. So they developed a cake mix, a formula that could be baked in a rice cooker. So they launched this product. Again, initially it did very well, but after a short while, it started to taper off. Sales started to taper off. So, General Mills did not fully understand why initially it was welcomed, but why it was struggling after such a short period of time. So they conducted focus groups, interviews to fully understand the reason behind this. And what they figured out through these follow-up studies was that when this cake was baked in the rice cooker, there was an aftertaste that the Japanese family could taste. No matter how much you would scrub and clean the rice cooker, there was a scent, a chocolatey, a vanilla, a sweet taste that the family could taste in their rice, and people did not like that. Therefore, the only way that they could penetrate the market and continue to bake these recipes in a rice cooker was if a Japanese household had a separate rice cooker where one was used, to cook rice, and then another rice cooker that was totally devoted to, baking this cake mix. But that was a stretch because Japanese households were not willing to spend the extra money to buy a separate rice cooker just to bake cake. So considering all of these elements, General Mills failed and they had to pull out again from the Japanese market. So this again goes to show you that they didn't have a full, complete understanding of the local market. So if we were to analyze Betty Crocker's failure in the Japanese market, just like we did for Snapple, we can again organize this in a 2x2 matrix that ranges from low to high market orientation and low to high product orientation. So again, we have 4 different combinations, A, B, C, and D. And again, which combination or which situation do you think would explain Betty Crocker's failure in the Japanese market? Would it be A? Would it be B? Would it be C? Or would it be D? Again, just like Snapple's case, I think it would be B, where they had high product orientation. This time, actually, they even changed the formula, the recipe, so that the cake mix could be baked in a rice cooker. However, because they did not fully understand the meaning of rice to the Japanese consumer, rice is considered a sacred food. It's considered, it has symbolic meanings in the Japanese diet. So, baking a cake along with rice in the same rice cooker just did not sit well with the Japanese household. So again, here it goes to show you that they really did not have a deep understanding of the cultural aspect, the historical aspect of rice and the relation between rice and a rice cooker. So again, cell B exemplifies high product orientation, but low market orientation, which can explain the failure of Betty Crocker in the Japanese market.